Hi, everyone. This is Loren Baker of Search Engine Journal. Welcome to today's special morning edition of the SEJ Show, the Search Engine Journal Show, sponsored by Wix and Moz. With me today, I have Marcus Tober, SVP of Enterprise Solutions at Semrush. Hey, Marcus, how's it going?
Hey, Lauren. Good morning. I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. And hello from
Good.
Berlin, by the way.
Nice, nice. It's been a while, so it's great to catch up, and I'm really looking forward to discussing today's topic matter. So, you put out a study on a zero-click study at Semrush, just really looking at the percentage of Google search, Google search click behavior. And I think the big takeaway from this was 25.6% of searches on Google result in 0 clicks whatsoever. So before we get into this, how about if we talk a little bit about your background and what you're doing now at Semrush, because you're leading the new enterprise division at Semrush, correct?
Yes. I mean, we know each other since, I think, 16, 17 years or so. So
Yes.
we're both like in SEO since a long time. I think like 22 years now. I founded a company in 2005 called Searchmetrics, built like maybe more or less the first SEO tool or SaaS tool in SEO, and had a pretty interesting ride till 2019 when I left Searchmetrics. Um, and yeah, I mean, I really wanted to think of like after I left Searchmetrics, well, what would be my next steps? And fortunately, Semrush really like pitched me their idea how we can like incorporate the ideas I still had. I couldn't kind of finish at Searchmetrics, so they really gave a lot of freedom and like I would say budget to build a new enterprise division within Semrush. It's including building a new product, building team. I've built like 31 people in the past couple of months, have different product teams. So it's a pretty interesting challenge so far. I mean, as you know, finding the best people is the first key. It's really hard, but I think I've built a good team. And the reason why Semrush is investing in enterprise is that their platform is really good and like fitting like every purpose. Like if you're in social SEO, paid display, affiliate, whatever you name in digital marketing, Semrush always have something that's really valuable for you. But if you look at like bigger, large enterprise companies, they often need like things that are more specific. So I'm utilizing Semrush power to build a specific product only for enterprise companies, which includes agencies, of course, like the bigger ones, because they often have like different approaches in how they like work with like their clients. I can't say anything specific, but it's going to be complementary to Semrush. It's not going to replace anything, because Semrush is already pretty great. So I'm adding something on top, and next year is definitely something we wanna release. Yeah. So that's basically it. But the headquarters is in Berlin. Just saying. So
Oh,
most people work Germany or out of Europe for my division, and yeah, that's it. I can't talk about a lot of details yet, but I'm sure people will see bits and pieces very early next year, and then we will continue working on like finding good product market fit. And at some point, I think when we are ready, we will make a big promotion and hopefully get interest and have a good success within Semrush.
that's amazing. So, besides specific needs, what else would you say is a difference between enterprise solutions and then I guess normal SEO or normal marketing solutions?
Yeah, the interesting thing is there's a lot of overlap, but there's also a lot of like things that are different. So for example, when you look at enterprise, um, let's just say super easily, 50% of time that you need to spend in an enterprise company is building different reports for different stakeholders. You know, not just for your team or for yourself. You have to build reports for your management, for your investors, for different like teams, could be product teams, business units, could be whatever. There's a lot of building reports involved. And it's not just saying, oh, I have a data analyst, he goes into Tableau, builds the stuff, done. The SEO requires a lot of attention to detail, crafting something that the stakeholder understands what you mean, because you can't just say, oh, this is visibility, there you go, because you have to translate SEO performance into the metrics a stakeholder cares about. So this is 50%. The other 50% is doing a lot of analysis. So if you are in a big enterprise company and you are in 10 markets, 20 markets, even sometimes more than 20 markets, there's a lot of stuff where you have to manage different situations because each market is different. As you know, Google has a lot of generalistic things there's a core update, it hits every market, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that happen in these markets. So that means that certain processes, certain workflows that you have are very time consuming and different based on the market and based on how you prioritize. And if you look at the current landscape, and what makes Semrush so great is it's a self-service tool. So it means you go in, you do the analysis, you make the conclusions. And my approach is that I want to put in a lot of knowledge. So I have, for example, one data science team that I'm building with really good people, that a lot of understanding of data, interpreting data is going to be based on workflows that you have, that we can automate for you so that you save time. And time saving actually is my main success metric. So everything I'm trying to build here is going to be measured by how much time I can save. So that's really our North Star metric.
It's pretty neat. One thing I just realized was that last year there were a number of enterprise companies that were acquiring, I guess, technology companies or search technology companies, especially ones that maybe had fed them data previously. Whereas Semrush, you're kind of doing it in reverse, right? You already have the large customer base. A lot of enterprise companies already use Semrush because it's the common denominator of SEO, right? Like everybody, if you may have this large account, but then you have Semrush as backup. You may have this account, then you have, so it's kind of interesting to see the company add this and then the ability to market to an existing customer base that that may already be enterprise and use Semrush for different reasons. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the study and what was put together. And then, I mean, really, the big thing to me is, the whole zero-click component. Is it a negative or is it a positive with planning for SEO? So let's go back to that number. 25.6% of searches on Google resulted in no click, except for maybe the back button. So is that no clicks of organic or no clicks of all the results?
So yes, and no. So before I start talking the details, like the 25.6% on desktop or the 17.3% on mobile, I think it's super important to understand what zero clicks mean, because if you remember, there was a study from Rand Fishkin in 2020 that he made that said that, okay, 77% of our searches result in a zero click. This was actually the trigger why we wanted to make our own study, because first I wanted to figure out that is there any change after the pandemic? Has the pandemic had any impact on click behavior? And not knowing, of course, how we did the study 2 years ago, of course, we just started like green field. And that was also the reason why we wanted to split and segment the different types of clicks. And for us, zero clicks actually really means that a session that you start, so there's a user that makes a search, and the continuation of the search could be that he clicks an organic result and returns and clicks another one, or he clicks paid and stays on the page, or he clicks on Google images and stays on Google images. So we actually looked at the click behavior of this user, and zero clicks for us means there was an initial search and there was nothing after that. There was no continuation. And what we did is we defined a session in a 2-minute window. So really be that someone made a search and then he got distracted and then he couldn't finish breathing or clicking. So we didn't caught these people because we kind of like did a user session within this 2-minute window. But a 25.6% actually in these 2 minutes are really people that made just one search and did nothing at all, nothing afterwards. This is what I would consider really this, because you maybe have a question asking for, I don't know, how many people live in Berlin, or you ask like, what's the definition of SEO, and Google shows you this nice big like answer box, and these things are for me the real zeros. Whereas, for example, making a keyword refinement or query refinement, or clicking with Google, like clicking on maps or clicking on images, is something that still sends no traffic to a website, like an external website, but still kind of like the user continues within Google. So
Right.
if you sum it up, it's still large. So if you sum it up, it's 53% on desktop that do not like go out. They use Google, they do something on Google, but they do not go to a third-party website. And it's even higher on mobile with 57. So it's not the 77% that Rand Fishkin has seen, which maybe is a very different study because he maybe didn't define the user in this two-time frame and measured things a little bit different. But generally, it's more than 50% on desktop and mobile of users that stay on Google and do something on Google. And the reason why we defined the zero clicks a little bit different than Rand did is because this is really where you can say Google maybe gave the answer to the user straight away. There was no need at all for the user to click to continue anything else.
So a couple of years ago, I had a client in the school space. They do like trade schools. And the one thing we noticed was that we started to see their organic clicks to the site diminish. Yet at the same time, Google had altered the local pack to add click to call and other components. So essentially, the metric that was set up previously as a success metric was traffic to the site and conversions and leads that came from traffic to the site. But because of the changes that Google made, especially on the mobile device, which is about 80% of their traffic, people were calling, right? So now, if someone hits the call button, do you consider that to be a click, and a Google internal click, or a click to the site? Because the interesting thing about SEO, and I think the biggest pivot probably in the past decade, is that, to your point, someone may click on Google Maps, someone may click on Google Images, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not reaching the business goal from that user, right? Because they may call you on Maps. They may book an appointment on one of the apps that are integrated into a Google business profile. They may save the image to use for whatever it may be. So I just wanted to get an idea from you, if that is considered a click in this study, if someone's going to do a phone call or an appointment, or book a reservation via OpenTable on Google. There's so many different options right now that are not going directly to the site.
Yes. Yeah, very good point. So, I mean, quick explanation on how we measure the data. So first we use third-party companies to get the clickstream data from. So it's kind of like all anonymized, so we can't even say like very specific things about these people profiles. But how we use the data is that we looked at URL changes. So based on your question, like, okay, if I click the phone button because I want to call the restaurant and make a reservation, this is something we couldn't track, because if you look at your images, it means if you click the button on a mobile phone, you change the app, and then you're in your phone app and you call the restaurant. That's something we can't track. It's for us not possible. It's the same if you have on SERP features. So if you have a popular products box and you click a filter, for example, and that does not trigger a new URL because Google does it like in the search result, that's also something we could not measure as a click. So for that moment, we would consider it as a zero click because no click actually happened. So, and especially on mobile, and this is also the reason I believe on mobile we have different data than on desktop. On mobile, we have more clicks that stay on the search result pages. We have more things that we considered query refinements, and a little bit more Google clicks, because I believe people are more engaged on the search results on mobile, and even did a lot of things on mobile, like not even the call button, maybe also clicking, I don't know, the menu button. Maybe that Google opens the menu within the screen in itself, which does not trigger a new URL. And in popular products, like I said, if you click, I don't know, filters like price or brand or whatever, and it filters the results within the search results, we couldn't measure that as well. So all in all, the numbers we have is like, let's say, the minimum. So the maximum can be much higher. So Google can keep many more clicks, but we couldn't measure them to that extent, which is also a reason why on mobile, for example, paid clicks is actually very low, because I think on mobile, the personalization is so important. So we are measuring mobile clicks in Chrome. So that means if someone is using a browser on a mobile device, we couldn't measure it, for example, within Google's own Google app. So something you might open if you have an Android phone, you have the search bar, you click in, and then you start searching, and then you get a result. That's something that's outside the browser. So we are only able to track things within the browser. So that means that the low number of paid clicks, I believe, is based on personalization that Google knows typically on a mobile device, according to a certain location, according to your settings, according to your profile, you get really good tailored paid ads. And as we only measured within the browser, we couldn't get the same extent of personalized ads. So that's why I believe we have less ads that actually Google is showing. But this is the caveat we have. As you know, Google is in itself owning its own apps. They would not allow us to track anything inside, as you know, so they can do whatever they want. I also truly believe the future, especially for us marketers, is that Google is going to own more and more of the user, especially in e-commerce. So there are a lot of things that Google is going to do that is increasing the user experience in terms of, oh, you searched for a product, we show you all the different related products. We show you all the different merchants that offer the product. We show you the prices, you can filter, you can do whatever you want. And then you can even put it at some point into a shopping cart and maybe check out with Google Pay right on the SERP without touching the merchant website at all. So this is really something I believe. It's the same for any other transactional search. So if you search something locally, I don't know, it can be related to any service, restaurant, or whatever. Anything I believe that is very close to a transaction, Google is going to own at some point, because this is what they can monetize. And I mean, remember the popular products box that they put out, I think 2 years ago they started. Since then, so I measured increase the number of popular products boxes, like the appearance, and the popular products box is the SERP feature with the highest growth. So year over year, the popular products box had an increase of 142%. So now the popular products box appears of almost 1/3 of all searches. If you only carve out like transactional or commercial searches, it's more than 50% even. So Google is very, very pushy on these integrations, and that has a reason, right? I mean, at the moment, popular products is free. So you can just send Google your structured product data. They have certain requirements, but in that moment when you send them, you are in, and like free traffic and free visibility. Even if people don't click, you have more visibility, more exposure of your brand. But at some point, if this product is really nicely integrated and is becoming very sticky for the user, Google is going to make it like a paid product. That's something that's going to happen. Yeah, of course they will do that, and then you have a commercial search and you have 4 AdWords on top. Then you have the popular products box, and then there's nothing. But I still believe, and this is really one of the results from the study, is that the number of organic clicks is still very high, so which is good.
Mhm.
It's like a good sign for us. I do still believe that the amount of traffic we get from organic is decreasing. I do believe that still demand increasing online, so maybe it's then flat because of higher demand and less clicks from organic. It's more or less flat. But as a marketer, we should definitely aim for areas where we have a hybrid strategy of we need to show up for these transactional commercial searches, even if we know we don't get the click. We need the visibility, we need exposure. That's very important. We also need to invest in content that might trigger different search results, like featured snippets, or maybe we show up like in more visual searches because we have lots of like images or generally visual content, even if we don't get more exposure. And then we have to invest in top of funnel content. So I really think because top of funnel content is very hard to monetize for Google because it's so far away from the transaction, and advertisers are not going to pay a lot of money for top of funnel traffic. I think this is really a chance for brands or for us SEOs to make a good kind of like start of the customer journey. So imagine you are a guitar shop and you sell guitars online. If you in the past, optimized your SEO towards like buy guitar online, or whatever, I would suggest that in the future you should in content like how to play a guitar, or why playing a guitar is like, I don't know, calming or cool or whatever. So you should invest in something that's very early in a customer journey, so that you can kind of like win potential customer very early, and then it's like your customer. And if Google owns like bottom of the funnel, still you have much better chance if you get to know the customer early on, because you have maybe a newsletter or many other things you can do, like with first party cookies that are not dying. Third party will die, but first party cookies, generally first party data, is like the new gold, right? That's why I think you need this hybrid strategy. You can't just say it is what it is and we only like invest now like in like, I don't know, ads. I think you need this good strategy between like bottom and top of funnel.
So I'm doing a query right now on the mobile device. The query is, I'm not sure if you can see this or not. Okay, so it's mushroom tea, which has become quite popular in the US. Above the fold, everything is the sponsored product listing. And the first sponsored product is mushroom coffee, which is not very relevant at all, right? So then, and of course, like on the carousel, I can go from like left to right, just go through everything. There's gummies there too. Gummies aren't tea either. And then as I scroll down, I see second scroll, right below the fold, I see 2 sponsored ads, right? So 2 sponsored ads. Then as I scroll down, I see the knowledge card for mushroom tea, which prompts me to share and add or interact with the card itself. So there's the, hey, let's keep you within the Google ecosystem. Let's keep your actions within the ecosystem itself. I don't know why I would share that, but interesting. Then I have people also ask, right? So this is the third scroll. People also ask, which these do have links, right? When I open them. And then as sorry.
I'm just saying this is also a chance for marketers, because the more questions you answer on your page, the higher your chances that you are in one of the PAAs, so just saying it can also be like a traffic source for you.
So the PAAs are the first organic result, hybrid internal organic. And then I have recipes, a recipe carousel, right? So, well, it's not really working. Okay, more recipes. It's not a carousel, sorry. And then finally, on basically the 5th or 6th scroll, I have some organic results. So if I am, and then there's short videos, there's shorts implemented into this because Google has to be like TikTok, right?
Yes.
And then as I scroll down, oh, there's more videos from YouTube. And then as I scroll down, people also search along with about a page of related searches. So basically,
But can you do me a favor? If you now
Mhm.
search for what is mushroom tea, just for the people very early, because mushroom tea for me seems a little bit like more transactional intent. Even if it's broad, it might be very specific to, I know what it is. And if you search for what is mushroom tea, I do believe that is less, that you have more chances to kind of get a customer.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't see the
So
details.
very top of funnel, a little bit hard to see, but I have the knowledge card there. And as I scroll down, people also ask, and then the organic result, right?
Yes.
So to your point, a more blunt, specific query for mushroom tea does sound more like a transactional intent, but what is informational. So to your point,
It, yeah,
there is opportunity out there.
it is. I mean, there's also one thing I haven't published yet, so it's very exclusive here now in our podcast, is that we are Semrush on a new state of search study. So, once a year we analyze like how search landscape changed in many areas, local e-commerce, etc. And we also look at the keyword intent. So, in Semrush we can measure like the intent of keywords like navigation, transactional information, keywords, etc. And we looked at how it has changed, because how we define a keyword, if it is transactional or information, is based on the SERP layout. So that means how many product listing ads we have, how many AdWords, how many shops we have versus, for example, informational pages like Wikipedia, etc. So the interesting thing is that the number of transactional and commercial keywords that we measure on a year-over-year basis has pretty much increased, and the number of navigational and informational keywords has decreased, which tells me that Google has definitely found good ways to create ads around keywords that maybe have been before informational from the intent perspective, that Google understood now, oh, there is some transactional intent, so we can show ads. And this is so clear. I mean, Google needs, if the number of searches per day is not increasing a lot, let's say, do you remember still Google said at some point they have 8 billion searches a day? That's the last official number I have in mind. So imagine the 8 billion searches is steady, but Google needs to grow on a quarterly basis. The only thing they can do is they can only more ads for keywords that already exist and are searched, or they find new product features like the popular products that they can monetize, or Google Maps, etc. So it's really interesting. It's not about blaming Google. I mean, it's their website. They can do whatever they want, more or less. I mean, except I'm not the FTC or whatever. So I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand like how monopolies work. But generally, if they do it, they do it in the terms of that they do it very slow, which is really interesting, because if you really think of doing, they could have like launched the popular products box with a checkout already. I'm pretty sure. I think the pandemic would have really have accelerated their business. I think demand was there. Google would love to have the checkout on Google search, but why should they? I mean, they have a long-term plan. They know they are under investigation in many countries, especially for like certain behaviors that they favor their own products over competitor products. But the point is, they do things, and if the user finds adoption, they can all like, this is what the user wants. There's no kind of like they shouldn't have any regrets, because they do anything in favor of the user. That's kind of interesting. Nevertheless, I truly believe SEO is going to be very important in the near and long-term future, if we understand like from which perspectives users are coming, and if we are not like going in a risky way that we bet one thing like, oh, I only optimize on transactional keywords because I convert this traffic easily in SEO, and then out of the sudden Google launches popular products with a checkout and you lose every traffic. You know what I mean? Or you should have like a very diversity to succeed in SEO.
Yeah. So would you say then, for especially in industries that do have multiple different types of query intent around product groups and things like that is to cover all bases, to make sure that you're active in popular products, you're active in Merchant Center, you're setting up your shipping information so Google knows how long it takes a product to get to the customer at the end of the day because they want to serve it higher. That you're doing shorts, like you're doing reels or whatever it may be on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere else, that you're also producing YouTube videos. And a lot of these, so traditionally, especially within an enterprise setting, not so much a small or medium business. Small or medium business, the person that's doing the SEO may have the opportunity to meet, to work together with whoever's doing social media, whoever's doing the video, to work together on budget, things like that. It's not always the same within an enterprise solution or an enterprise company. You may have never met the person that's doing social media before. So the question I have is, with all of these changes that are happening, besides just overall diversity, making sure that you're trying to cover everything, what are some ways that someone within maybe a larger company can set expectations, get people to the table, get that conversation going that, hey, we may be doing okay with traffic and conversions right now, but this is the direction that Google is going into. How can we make sure that our brand blankets the results that our prospective customers are being served when they search for something that's relevant to our product or service?
Yeah. So I would definitely suggest that every company, no matter if you're small or large, you have some sort of demand monitoring. So you should always be able to know how is demand for brand and for everything that's non-brand. Why? So if imagine you're only looking at like artificial visibility metrics, you are definitely blinded by the reality, because if your rankings increase, visibility will increase, but at the same time, Google can change like the SERP layout and include, I don't know, a new local box or a new popular products box or something else, and your organic ranking will stay the same. Even like in Google Search Console, you might not see a change in position, but the positions are going down. So there's something that I truly encourage everyone to look at. How is my demand developing for brand, non-brand terms? If you have very important products, do the same for certain products or product types. And this is one thing that's important. If you then, especially if you want to anticipate how things are going to change into the future, is for the most important keywords that you have, you look at how is the how are search results how search results look right now. So I mean, of course, you look at how many PAA boxes are there, how many popular products boxes, how many featured snippets, etc. But this is something that you should map and measure over time, because if you see a decrease in traffic, for example, but there's no other SEO metric has changed, like positions are the same or maybe even improved, like in Search Console, Semrush, etc. But at the same time, traffic decreases, you would always know it's the weather, it's seasonality, it's something else. But the effect can come from something that you have not control over. So like change in SERP layouts. This is something I truly believe you have to anticipate. And if you're in a large company, you should, as an SEO, you should make a plan of what stakeholders you need to involve, like the content marketing team, or maybe the product team, or maybe some, I don't know, business development units, because you might need to develop something internally which is different. I don't know, if you want to produce shorts, you can't just say, oh, we offer shorts, so this is not how it works in a big company. So as an SEO, you're often a proxy towards many different stakeholders. SEOs, they know a lot, they want a lot, but often in big companies, they can't actually do it because there's someone else actually owning the budget or this part of the website. So I think as an SEO, you have to build a good map of how's the search landscape now, how is it changing, anticipate in certain areas what kind of potential risk or like opportunities you have, then work on a plan how to work with potential stakeholders. This is what I would do. I know it's very broad and generic, but every company is very different. You have different owners of the website, different stakeholders, different metrics that you need to use internally. But this is what I think is necessary, because in the end, Google is going to own the user more or less end to end in e-commerce. So we have to have a good plan to kind of like still get a piece of the user, because we can't just say, okay, then I don't know, go to Amazon, because Amazon is the same. This is so interesting. Amazon is also like one of the fastest growing advertising companies. I know Amazon is e-commerce, but their advertising arm is now, I think, the third largest of revenue in the world. So Amazon is the same. So all of them do the same thing. So you always have to find a good strategy. How can you get a piece of the customer without just giving the companies just the advertising dollars?
It's interesting because it's interesting that you bring that up, because you referred to Google a couple times with popular products and shopping as being like an e-commerce and shopping destination, which is definitely the direction things are going. A lot of the queries that most of the transactional queries that I see right now have like 3 different types of product listings, right? You have your sponsored products, that you have popular products, and then you have just like products sprinkled throughout, especially right before holiday shopping season. Then I've also noticed that there's been a stores box as well, because sometimes people do want to go to the website. And what will happen is Google will serve lots of informational sites, especially in the health space, like Healthline and Mind Body Green and things like that, that all have listicles, and then like top 8, top 9, whatever. And then there'll be like stores, and boom, boom, boom. And it's typically like just like a typical e-commerce store, because I think people are still looking for that. But as you were talking about Google and then transition to Amazon, it occurred to me that, yeah, Amazon's an e-commerce search engine, right? Of course, they have sponsored ads. There's also Wayfair. There's also multiple other sites that all have their own internal advertising component. So it's kind of interesting to see Google going in this direction as the other companies are going towards Google. I just wonder which one's going to make it first to dominate everything across the board.
I mean, I truly believe Google really now found enough like motivation to really compete against Amazon. That's why they're investing so much in their all these different e-commerce integrations. And in that moment, when they really can include a checkout directly on Google, they are a direct competitor to Amazon. Because Google knows that most of e-commerce queries are happening on Amazon itself, like within Amazon. So Google doesn't even see the user in that moment. So they have this dilemma. So they need to do. And if they say, hey, we compete against Amazon, they might even say, hey, Amazon is a search engine, as like, I don't know, Wayfair is a search engine. So the search engine market is much larger. We are not a monopolist. So that might be even like a good excuse for Google to say, hey, Amazon is a search engine. So we have a much smaller market share than you think, dear FTC, and then they maybe kind of like can proceed with it. But generally, if you look at like visual search, Google also made a lot of like significant changes to look more like Pinterest. So Google is investing. I mean, you have mentioned shorts as well. So Google is investing in like TikTok's very popular format, and like maybe trying to adopt their genius algorithm. So it's really interesting. Google is battling in many different like areas. But I really think they have a long-term strategy. Google is not the same company as they used to be, like when they just put out like products like, hey, there's Google Wave. It's the like solution for email and chatting, whatever.
Wave
And then
was
they
cool.
kind of like we used to be cool. I know, oh, there's Google Google, oh my God, Plus, yeah, with Google Circles, like, hi, we are a social network now. So I think Google is much more cautious now how they do stuff. They test much more. So it's really interesting to see how they will develop. But I have a lot of friends that they really know what they're doing, and they will definitely make some major changes in the near-term future.
So just to backtrack a little bit, I'm looking at 2 of the different stat breakdowns on Google search CTRs. First, by desktop, we see that there's 45.1% organic clicks. On mobile, I see 43.1%. It's a difference, but it's not as dramatic as some of the other differences. On desktop for Google keyword, I see 17.9%. And then on mobile, 29.3%. That is a huge,
Yes.
huge difference. What is Google keyword? Like, what are the clicks to Google keyword? Are those people
So
also
Google,
ask? Is it similar?
yes, yes and no. So there's something, if you go to the blog post, there are a couple more charts. So one is, for example, the similarity of successive keywords in a single search session, and the other one is like the difference in length of keywords of successive keyword single session. So what we actually wanted to measure is that if you make a query refinement, like you search for, I don't know, Adidas sneakers, and then you like say, okay, it's not what I wanted, and then you change it to white Adidas sneakers. The similarity between your original query and the second query is very high. So I want to answer your question in a couple seconds, but if you
Mhm.
just look at the similarity, there is a very high similarity between the initial query and the second query, so the refinement of about 50% of all searches, or a little bit more than 50%, which is definitely a sign that when people search, they're not, maybe they're not happy in the results, or they are, and they want to kind of like continue their search, so they make a query refinement. Or they click in Google. As you know, you have Google like related searches or similar searches, all these things. If you just click, it also triggers a new URL, a new search for you. You know, Google is very good in like just making another search. Oh, you click something here, that you get a new result with just a triggered search. So this is very high in terms of like 50%.
Mm.
If you also look at, which is very interesting, because it also means 50% are not that similar. So that's also something we should keep in mind. So which might mean that a user makes a search, finds an answer, and makes another search. So for example, you search for, I don't know, team German, you know, you want to translate something. So translation services is also considered a search for us. And if you look at how Google makes the integration, it's very easy for you to make an initial like, oh, translate TV from German into English, and you have the search integration, and then you can do another one. It would be a very different query, but it's for us a query refinement. So, in coming back to your question, why is it so high on mobile? So, I believe there are a couple different factors. One factor is you also see this on how long people stay on the page. On mobile, they stay much longer. You have a smaller screen, you have to scroll much more. So that means before you make a decision, there's a lot of more time that you invest. So, and if you just look at the numbers, 33% on mobile make a click within the first 5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and 5% on desktop, which is almost 50% higher. So that's something that's very different. On desktop, you see much more, you make much faster decision, and on mobile, you scroll much more, which makes me really think that on mobile, Google has like these good integrations that just triggers a new search, which for us is these like query refinements. I still believe that there's a lot of things that in terms of query refinement, but I can't say for sure like this, but that's why we made this analysis on how similar is the query, the successive search to the original one, and on mobile, it's also very similar. So the similarity between a little bit different on desktop, a bit between initial search and then successive search is about 40% on mobile. So that really means that people maybe click on like some suggestion from Google, like related keywords, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
like just add something behind the Adidas sneakers, and then maybe Adidas sneakers online. But it also means that 60% are different, which is something I believe that especially on a mobile phone, people use it maybe even more as an answer machine than on desktop. Or if you, for example, imagine you're on the go, you search for, I don't know, a restaurant, and you just want to see what's the location very fast, or you want to see something like the menu, you just make a search, and then maybe you don't just click and then you search for something else, like, I don't know, what are other restaurants around or something. So I think on mobile you have often very different intents than on desktop. On desktop you are much more transactional. You have like the big screen, you can make decisions much faster. than on mobile, where you have to browse much more and consume the content that Google gives you.
I think that data point is also reinforced by the zero-click patterns in mobile users. I'm looking right now at the type of Google search completed after the main search, right? So, there's images are at 7.52% compared to desktop at 6%. So definitely people are clicking the image afterwards on mobile to help refine their search of what they're looking for, whatever it may be. Mobile is a much more visual
Yes.
oriented experience, whatever that is. The one that really sticks out to me, and I think this is reinforced by what you just said, is that next page. So looking at page 2 of the search results. On desktop, it's 0.89%, which is pretty close to 1%. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the user searches, they don't find what they're looking for. They scroll down and they click next page almost 1% of the time on desktop. On mobile, it's 0.02% of the time. So if you thought 1% was bad, mobile is so much worse to get on page 2. So it sounds like to me, based upon what you just said, if someone doesn't see what they're looking for almost immediately in a mobile result, they're either going to refine the search themselves, or they're going to click a button that lets Google refine the search for them to find exactly what they're looking for. And there's no way in hell they're going to go down and scroll especially with continuous scroll, but scroll all the way down to the bottom and hit next page. They want it right then and there, and they'd rather refine the search than go to the next page.
Yes, I truly believe. I mean, on mobile, you often have like continuous infinite scroll, which is not like going to a next page. But at the same time, I agree with you. On desktop, people are much more patient. They are more like in this kind of like mode that, okay, I know what I want, so I do click on the second page. But on mobile, they are not like that. On mobile, it's like you're on the go. You're maybe sitting in a train. You want what you want right now, and you do not put in the effort to kind of like go to the next page, like browse through all the different results. I think people are less patient on a mobile device.
Were there any other findings from this study or anything else that you've done on the Semrush side that's really cool that you'd like to discuss today, Marcus?
I mean, we just talked about it, like for example, like how fast people make decisions. That was one of the findings mostly surprised about, that on desktop almost 50% of people click within the first 5 seconds. I really thought that people put in more time, but as you know, as an SEO, we always thought like, okay, you have to put emojis or you have to put something in your title tag to stick out. You have to do something, and these numbers really surprised me a little bit. Of course, it's a confirmation, but also a surprise that people don't really put in a lot of effort reading stuff. They just click and there you go. But other than that, I really want to do another zero-click study next year to really look how everything is progressing, especially with Google's investment in, like I said, especially in e-commerce. So let's see, everything will play out.
Speaking of e-commerce, have you had a chance to look into the conversion rates of sales or traffic driven through Google products / Google Shopping compared to normal organic traffic on the site? Is it typically higher? Have you been able to look at that data
No,
through any of your studies
no,
or?
no. I mean, of course, with some of the clients, we might have that data, but that's something we don't analyze. So conversion data is like typically something we don't touch. We do touch stuff like CTR data and anonymize it in that sense, but conversion data is something we are not looking at.
There's a site I'm working with, and they were doing some Black Friday promos, Black Friday, Cyber Monday promos, and typically what they would do with an ad promo is send someone directly to the PDP page, like the product page, to then add the cart. But they tried a campaign where they sent someone directly to the cart with the product already in the cart, and the conversion rates were through the roof. I found that to be really interesting because it's kind of like what Google's doing right now, right? You go in the shopping, you look at the product, you're ready to buy right then and there. There's no distractions. It's in the cart. You're ready to go. The code is the discount code is already there, right? So you don't have to leave the cart to go to Retail Me Not or a coupon site to get distracted and find coupons and find a competitor and then maybe go somewhere else. But I thought it was really interesting. And I kind of see like Google going in a similar direction with what they're doing as well, especially the ability just to buy then and there, make suggestions of products to be in the cart or related products based upon search query behavior, things like Amazon does, but Amazon only like really gets the transactionals. I mean, they get intent based upon like what shows you're watching on Prime. They get intent based upon other searches that you're doing and not buying and everything else that Amazon does. But Google just seems to have much more data on that end, which is really interesting to me.
It is, and it's definitely a missing piece that they didn't have before. I mean, what actually really you put in a shopping cart? I mean, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
based on your search behavior, it's a missing piece. You know, there's what actually do you buy? Cool stuff.
It just blows me away that like Merchant Center can sync up with ShipStation and tools like that to look directly at like, it's almost like Google is. So for those of you that are listening, if you sign up with Merchant Center, you can sync up with your shipping solution as well. So then what Google will do is Google will see how long it takes for a product to be ordered, be sent from the warehouse, and then be delivered. And those metrics are integrated into the overall Google shopping algorithm. And if something's within a certain amount of days, it may show up higher, whatever it may be. That blows me away because that to me is a precursor of Google maybe putting out something that will compete with Prime one day in the future. If they see that a product takes, I mean, everyone's spoiled with Prime, right? At least in the US we are. So if you're not going to get something within 2 days, you're like, oh man, it takes forever. I'm not going to order it on this site. But if Google can help speed that up and serve things that are 100% people know they're going to get within a certain amount of time, I think that's going to be a big deal. We have a couple questions that came in, and one is that came in from Ben. Sorry, real quick, everything's going crazy. Benj Areola, who I think you know, he mentioned that what about adding a CTR or a call to action within the content that's typically indexed and served on zero click, such as people also ask, maybe even FAQ accordions, things like that. Is that something that you would recommend, like trying to have a call to action within that content? Or do you think Google will ignore that and not serve it?
I do think Google will serve it if it's a regular link. I think that's even something that already works. So I have definitely seen a couple different shops when they provided like their product structured data that within the description of the product they could include like a call to action, and it was even like highlighted within the in the search results as a link. So, but I don't know if that's like just an outlier or if that's like a strategy you can really leverage at the moment. So I don't have enough insights on that, but I have seen it like already a couple of months ago. Maybe it was like a I don't know, an exploit and Google fixed it. But I do think that should still be possible.
Maybe. Had another question come up from Camilla. She asks, is the zero click study, is that focusing on the EU, the UK, all of Europe, US data, Australia, all of the above, English speaking, multiple language speaking? What was the study based off of? What was the focus group or sample?
It's only Google US. Only Google US.
Google US.
And the time frame was May. So it was in May this year. So it took a couple of months for us to analyze that. So if a couple of things might have changed since May, but it was only US and Google, of course.
Okay, great. So are you running more studies in the future, especially like with maybe zero-click behavior during the holidays, zero-click behavior in Germany or other areas based upon
Yeah.
location, language, etc., seasonality?
Yeah, definitely we want to do this. The problem with the data is that the cleaning, processing, and then analyzing the data takes a couple of months. We haven't had like the chance to build some good pipeline, some good processes to automate it. But of course, I mean, that's something we do like a lot and enjoy. So you definitely can see a couple more studies coming in the future. Not only zero-click studies, even if we like it so much, there will be also other studies that will be very helpful.
Amazing, amazing. Marcus, it's been a real pleasure to connect. It's been a long time. It's been a number of years, so it's good to talk to you.
Yes.
Really happy about hearing your position at Semrush and everything that you're doing there, and excited to see what you all launch in the near future. I dropped Marcus's LinkedIn handle and Twitter handle in the comments. For those of you that are listening, you can basically just search Google for Marcus Tober and you'll find all of Marcus's social accounts at the very beginning of the results. So be sure to connect with Marcus on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever he is. And if you have any follow-up questions or anything like that from for Marcus or about Semrush in general and Semrush Enterprise, again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Wix and Moz, for making today's show possible on the SEJ Show. And then Marcus, I believe it's almost 5 o'clock there in Berlin. It's almost 8 a.m. here in California. So I'm going to let you go. But it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for jumping on today.
Likewise, it was a real pleasure. See you soon, Loren. Bye, everybody.
Okay, cheers. Thank you very much.